Bing. Hey, all right. So we had a crazy week in Madrid. We have so many things to share. We have notebooks now. One of the things that I want to show is what the new notebook interface looks like. Just as a quick summary of the things that we want to show, we're going to show new user onboarding. We have a new user onboarding wizard. We have the ability to fork notebooks now. We also have first-party notebooks, which we have demoed before, but it'll look much better now. We have much better invitation flows, which Javi will show. Open graph images on share so that we can share notebooks more easily. We have public notebooks so that you can view notebooks without logging in. We have the ability to import notebooks from other places. And then we have a couple of flagship, public notebooks that we want to show off. So why don't we get started with the onboarding flow? From our homepage, login is the same. If you log in for the first time, you'll now see this pick organization name thing. You can create your own organization, which are starting to follow GitHub style URLs. So this would be my new demo test, or let's call it the demo day org. After you auth session missing, oops. Well, great. Great demo. Let me try again. There we go. Okay, sorry. I think I had a separate tab that wasn't logged in yet, and I didn't refresh. We have a couple of different, starter templates to start with. When you click on one of these, it'll fork that notebook into your new space. So this is my new demo day organization. And our notebooks now show up on the left-hand side. If you go to home is a dashboard for your organization. And this was just forked in here. Under the hood, this is a Marimo iframe that's executing all the things, which you can execute here. And yeah, that is the initial working workflow. One of the things that you can do now, which you couldn't do before, because these notebooks are not multiplayer yet, I think it's going to be a very common pattern for people to be forking notebooks to different organizations or into the same organization to make changes. So now there's this fork button where you can pick an organization to fork into. You can give it a new network, new name. So this would be my demo notebook. Again, we're following GitHub style URLs here, so you can copy this. And when you click fork here, you'll see that we have now created a new copy of this notebook with the correct name in my test organization. And these are all of my test notebooks that I've been fiddling around with. So yeah, that is our new onboarding flow and forking. Woo. Yeah. Javi, you want to try inviting someone?
Sweet, yeah, of course. So another cool thing that we achieved is email flow, which basically allows people to invite users to different organizations. So I'm going to show you how this works. So I have this tab where I have just like one of like another account that I have from my personal account. And how does it work here? When you go to settings, you have this tab, which is members. And when you click here, invite, you put the email of your person. So let me and you click invite. And what this will do is it will send an email and it will be here pending. So this under the hood, how it works is it obviously checks that the user is not in the organization, and then we use a mail JSON provider, which will send an email. Sometimes it needs a couple of minutes, so it's something that I definitely want to troubleshoot and see why it needs some time. But yeah, meanwhile, while this while the email arrives, okay, so it arrived now. Let me share the screen so we can see how it looks. Stop presenting and window email. Yeah. So then we get something like this. Right now, this is like black because of Safari's, macOS styles, but this is like in white. And it says you have been enjoying to this organization. I have invited you to collaborate. And then you can basically click accept invitation or copy the link. I'm going to copy the link so we can continue with the flow together. And I'm going to basically go here, 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 and I'm going to go to here. And now, basically, oops, this is the wrong tab. Stop presenting. And I'm going to do this one, which is also here. Yes. So now I will copy the link. I will paste it. And this will basically create the onboarding for the new user. Let's give it a second. Yeah, my Wi-Fi here is a little bit slow. Well, demo issues.
Oh no, are you having network issues?
Yeah, I don't know why it's not loading.
The demo.
Yeah, it's just my network's a little bit flaky. Okay, seems to be loading now. Let's give it a second. So now, because the user is already logged in, they can continue proceed to your account. If the user wasn't logged in, this would go to the Google Flow with the OAuth, and they would log in. And now, when we continue, which is a little bit slow because of my network. So now I have been invited to join this organization. This is the email that has been invited. So I click accept. And now this user is added to organization. And if the user goes to their account, for example, which is a little bit slow. Yep. So now here you have the Javier organization. So you have OSO test. This is like my production account, and then you have this new organization. So that is how the flow works. People don't have to be logged in. So if they don't have an account, they will be prompted to create a new one. And this is mainly how the flow works for the emails. And another thing that I wanted to share, which is cool, is that as Ray said, we are following the how to say this, the GitHub approach. So if we go, for example, to our Discord, and you go, for example, you see this is like the Discord, the GitHub embed. We have something super similar for our OSO. So every time that you basically add a description, which is not yet implemented, but it's already in the database, it will create this embed on the fly with the organization name, the notebook name, the profile picture of the user who created it, the description, and then this is a mock for the moment, like contributor PO and forks. PO is like our version of star. I accept new ideas, but that's how it is for the moment. So yeah, that's why you can share this in the future, and it will embed on WhatsApp, Discord, everywhere, so people can see without even opening the notebook, and it has this rich view.
Nice. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, so the next thing that we've done now is importing notebooks. So let me start sharing this screen here. Boom. All right. So yeah, so importing notebooks, pretty simple feature. Basically, you can take we can only import from a URL right now. Maybe in the future, we'll allow importing from just a raw string. If you were to go to, say, the Insights repository, I've already loaded one up here, so we can do this pretty quickly. This is the contributor growth .py. You need to get the raw link of the notebook. So this is, if you go back, this is the you don't want this page here, because this is going to load a bunch of other stuff that won't actually be a notebook. And then you go to the input URL. Like, look at this beautiful UI. I designed this myself.
Wow, very good.
Yeah, you guys,
Pretty.
yeah, I know. It's so good. So just give it a name. Test. I'm not creative, so here we go. Yeah, contributor growth. Let's see. Let's hope it works. Please, demo gods. All right, there it goes. We got these multiple. What do they call these? Yeah, I don't know.
Stoners, posts.
Yeah, posts. Yeah, they're a bit much, but and that's it. And things start running already. So there it is.
I need more confetti everywhere.
That's it for me. Go for it.
All right, thanks.
Another thing that we released is public shareable notebooks. So let me share my screen. I believe this one will only work on certain organizations. Am I right, Ray?
Yeah, currently you have to have enterprise flag on your organization.
So let me create a notebook here. This will be the notebook name. I'll just print something. Just a simple notebook. Now I'm gonna make it shareable with anyone. Let's first. Let me change to share my screen instead. So, can you guys see this new window?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I'm gonna try opening this. Currently, you can see it. It's behind off. So if you go to share here and you make it anyone with the link and view, and you make it done, what happened is now this link is publicly shareable. Oh. And now already here, as you can see, the page is different. Now it's loading the notebook, and it will show the app view of the notebook, not the code. So it would be this view here, which is only like the executable cells. And that's it.
Nice.
Who's next?
Nice. I think Carl's ready to show some real notebooks.
Oh, geez. That went really fast.
Yeah, no, we're gonna have the fastest demo day ever.
All right. The funny thing is, while we were doing that, I was actually trying to solve a user question that came in. Didn't quite get it. Still debugging the SQL. So we are not quite at the point where we can get debugging for something like this. I won't show that demo. But let me show some working notebooks that we have right now. I guess one thing, maybe just to take a step back, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4 proper organizations, I guess you could say. These ones are improper. If you go into the OSO one, actually, I'll go back to that in a second. We can get from here. I did do a bit of cleanup. So there were some temp ones that we used to have. I got rid of those. But we have whatever this is, 12 or so notebooks.
I think
Wrong tab. Yeah, sorry. Here we are. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 proper organizations now. OSO probably has the most notebooks in it right now, and that might be for the foreseeable future. I did some cleanup and got rid of some of the older ones, but now there's 12 or so notebooks in here. We can go into other ecosystems and see how many we have. But yeah, it's coming together. The first one I'm going to show is this VC portfolio analysis notebook. I'm going to collapse the sidebar over here because I think it looks better. Right now you can see the code. I like the command period shortcut key, which allows me to quickly toggle between code view and app view. I use that a lot.
Oh, cool.
One thing that doesn't look that beautiful is you can see that the formatting here is not great. I'm just going to fix that cosmetically because those kind of things bother me. And I'm going to move this to full. So that fixes it temporarily. Unfortunately, we can't save it that way, but we'll
We
fix
can.
We can.
we
We
haven't
haven't
done
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any case, not a bug, just something that we'll get to. But what you can see here is, well, you can see VC portfolio analysis. If you want to get some more information on how this was made, there's an accordion here. I love the Marimo accordion UI element. So you can read the methodology. It kind of explains different things here. We can see the data where this comes from, Core Signal, OSO, GitHub, etc. There's some links to other resources for people that want to fork this, like how to get started with PyOSO, the Marimo docs, etc. But then, yeah, let's look at the dashboard itself. So we have a few investors that are in here. Paradigm is the most popular one, because I think that's the term that we searched for. But basically, you can choose the investor, start date. You get some stats up at the top. You can see the different funding events that have happened. We have this very important field here, which is the company being tracked by OSO? There's some very brittle logic that we use to identify if a project that is getting funding has some kind of website or GitHub that we have identified. It is missing a lot of things. So for instance, there are definitely some products in here, like I think Gitcoin is one of the ones that Paradigm funded. Let's see, and Agora as well. And yeah, Gitcoin, right? But it says that we don't actually have any information because at the time they had an old URL. I think it was like GitHub, Gitcoin or something. But in any case, that's why we can't find it. But you have these metrics here overall. And then we can actually zoom in and take a metric. In this case, we're looking at protocol developer activity, or sorry, developer activity. And we can see for the OSO data that we have, this will take a second. It's reticulating splines right now. You can basically see over time how much funding the product has received from all funders, not just Paradigm. Unfortunately, we can't get their exact investments from the core signal data, but they were a lead investor, so it does show up as one of their investments. So they basically have 2 rounds that we're aware of, total of 180 million, and you can see that their developer activity has gone up over time. Again, this is a pretty simple one. My guess is that if you just look at the code here, this is I don't know, getting the models was the hard part, but it's not that much to do. So this is probably a half day type thing, maybe less. If you wanted to, you could fork it and bring it over somewhere else if you wanted to. Any questions about that notebook?
Nope.
Cool.
No, looking good.
Looking good. Let me show you another one. This one, claim to fame about this one was it was done entirely at 30,000 feet on an airplane, and Marimo worked throughout. Deep funding is going for its 3rd iteration coming up in October, and so they wanted to do a little bit of updating on the graph. Historically, we had to maintain all of this. What's going to be happening now is that any project that is included here, they will basically get a JSON. They can review their dependencies, and if there's an error, they can submit a pull request instead of us having to kind of manually get all of them. But what this captures right now is the current state of which projects are in level 1. We can see how many level 2 nodes that they have. These are basically any package that is being imported by one of the seed nodes. There's a couple different ways that these have been identified. So the most common one is by the SBOM. But in some cases, there's already been manual updates. Like, I wrote a script last month or a couple months ago that would parse the SBOM for things like C++ and Java, I think. And there's also been a few manual updates that have come in since then. But yeah, you can basically see the table here of all of the different repos, the number of nodes that they have, how much came in by this custom logic versus through the SBOM. And There's one that we are waiting for. This is still indexing. Hopefully in a couple hours, we'll have this one as well. And then if anybody wants to, this is actually grabbing data from the V2 one, or originally it was from the V2. Now we have a special place where we can see any updates that are happening. It is making an external request right now, grabbing the JSON, using that in here, and then doing some additional analysis from OSO. If you want, you can use a download button, which I think is a great feature. So you can download the raw JSON of either of these things. And if you want to, you can upload it there. Now, hopefully projects will not just look at a really long JSON file. They can come in and analyze their own dependencies by clicking this tab over here. So let's take an example of, I don't know, Aragon, right? So you can see it's in Go. You can see the child nodes, all of the repos that were identified, and this will give you a sense of which ones are being included. And if they notice ones that are maybe that they previously added that shouldn't be there, or they're kind of new ones that they want to add, they can get the full list here. Again, super easy to put this into a spreadsheet if you want to analyze it or something. We obviously could make this a lot richer and throw in some metrics like how active this project is and other things about it. We won't do that for now, but you can kind of see where this is headed. And yeah, hopefully that will make the experience for seed nodes determining which of their repos make sense to include in deep funding a lot easier. And thank you, Ikaro. This is now public. I can see it. I'll share it with the Ethereum Foundation team after demo day.
Oh, awesome. I'm
Great.
curious how much of this is like in their workflow? Like which parts of these workflows do you see Devansh or community members using the most?
TBD. I think that like the most common thing has been Vitalik wanting to add a seed repo. So he can just do that by editing this JSON. And then a maintainer wanting to fix something. And previously they would like DM us, or they DM Devansh and he would forward it and ask me to do it. Now it says this is where it's coming from. You can just make the pull request yourself. My guess is that this is like pretty insufficient right now because you're just getting a big list of things. We'll see. Some of them are actually much better curated. So you can take this one and it does actually have a much smaller list of dependencies because you've already done the work of cleaning it up and filtering out the transitive ones. Ideally, there's one missionary for Two's project that goes in, does that work, and starts to maintain this instead of it being us. And hopefully they can take advantage of some metrics that we can share about those projects.
Cool.
Random question. Should we at some point make these registering of and fixing repos and stuff projects a first level product?
I know that Ruben has some thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean,
log in with GitHub.
Yeah, I would love it if people were logging in with GitHub to our site. Yeah, it would allow us to do a lot of things very quickly, especially for the data pipeline, right? Like it would just clear up a lot of things. Like if you log in with GitHub, we can kind of just kick off an immediate SBOM thing right then, right? Like using your token, right? So we don't have to consume our API like quota. So yeah, I think there's a lot. I think we want to do a lot of these things in-house at some point. So.
All right, I got maybe two more. This one is another example of looking at the developer graph. We presented this on the Arbitrum Stylus call last week. It was the first public notebook that we unveiled. They were pretty into it. Definitely generated some inbound from projects and others that wanted to use this. But TLDR, the Stylus Sprint, it's a $5 million ARB initiative supporting new projects that are building with Stylus. So that's an SDK. It's a Rust SDK that will allow developers who are not familiar with Solidity or don't want to use Solidity, to use other languages like Rust and C and so on. And their stated goal is to go from hundreds of developers to potentially thousands, millions, tens of millions of developers in the not so distant future. This page gives like an overview of all the different metrics that are available. The first thing we'll look at is the grant program itself. So they are funding about 20 teams, and this is basically one of the chaos metrics called velocity. And we can basically see all the teams that receive funding, what their velocity has been since the start of Stylus Sprint, and then going back to, like 2023 or so. So it's like, I don't know, 2 years of data, roughly. One of the most active teams, surprise, surprise, is Open Source Observer. Here you can get a snapshot of other metrics. This also includes some more of the chaos metrics like bot activity. Hopefully we can add more to this, but right now it's a curated set of metrics that we have. And then we can also kind of pull out the CRM that they're using, so we can see which products are included. We can see which of those are actually detected as using the Stylus SDK. So even though Open Source Observer is an active builder, we are not using the Stylus SDK. And if you want, you can get more details on any of the projects by clicking the Questbook link, and that will take you to their application and details about what they're actually doing. If projects have an issue and they want to make a fix here because we're not getting the right repo or other things, they can click this link right here and submit a pull request. A few people did that last week. That's the Stylus page. The next one is looking at all users of the SDK. So similar to what we saw with the deep funding graph a minute ago, here we are basically looking at any known project where we've taken the SBOM and seeing if the Stylus SDK appears in that SBOM. There aren't that many projects that we picked up on, only 33. What I learned from last week is that actually some of the ones that are being picked up on are also part of the Stylus Sprint. And once we run the pipeline, they should show up as well as projects that are in both this tab and this tab. But right now, a relatively small number of the repos are part of Stylus Sprint. A lot of these represent kind of teams that are tinkering or exploring it. We can see the same metrics that we saw previously. The next thing, which is actually quite cool, actually, one more thing. So this is tracking their progress towards their overall goal of going, of increasing the number of active developers in Arbitrum. Context, at least using the Electric Capital crypto ecosystems data set, the number of active developers has been going down on Arbitrum. It's kind of been going down in Ethereum and Solidity in general. Now, this is partly perhaps because people have shifted to doing things with AI or in fintech. Or another explanation is that the data in Electric Capital hasn't been updated. It's not always accurate. It does tend to have more older projects because newer ones, by virtue of being newer, are less likely to be included in the registry. So that's kind of a known issue. Maybe if we're feeling ambitious one day, we could try and clean some of that up. But in the meantime, you can kind of see these high-level metrics across ecosystems. Definitely, I think one thing they would care about is that ecosystems like Base and Solana are definitely growing faster than Arbitrum. And I'm guessing even if we cleaned up the data, you would probably see that. One thing that's also interesting, I've never actually done this before, but you can see how much overlap there is between, say, the Arbitrum repos and Solana repos or Base, et cetera. So I was actually pretty surprised that there isn't a huge amount of overlap between what's being captured in the Base set and the Arbitrum set. And the Base set is a smaller set of repos than the Arbitrum one. So yeah, either things are getting stagnant there, you need to update the data, or indeed they're having some developer churn. Last thing here, which they really liked, is basically looking at who is forking the example repos that they created, and using this as kind of a CRM for identifying developers or projects that they might want to give grants to or learn from to see what kind of friction or ideas they have for the SDK. So there's right now, I think, 10 example repos. On the call, I heard of a few other teams that are going to be adding more example repos over the next month or two. And they're also planning a big release. So hopefully, after that release and some new example repos going up, this number should be going much more rapidly. In any case, you can see some of the people that are using it. So this identifies the username, how many repos they have developed since they first forked one of the examples. And then, again, these repos might be a part of Solana. They could be a part of, Arbitrum. They could be part of other ecosystems. This column here basically tries to look at their activity and identify the most interesting types of contributions they're doing. So for instance, this person is also contributing to Off-Chain Labs. It might be someone they know. This person over here is someone who is actually contributing to non-EVM ecosystems. So they could be perhaps a Rust developer who's in Solana that might be worth contacting. So actually, I haven't clicked this link. Let me see what we get. If we pick some of these people. Okay, so yeah, here's an example. This person is kind of just playing around. But you could kind of go through the entire CRM here if you wanted to. And then this also kind of identifies some of the projects that are most interesting, have a lot of developers in them, and what their alignment is. So no surprise here. A lot of the Ethereum Rust packages that are maintained by Paradigm, like Alloy and Paradigm itself, Foundry, that's where a lot of the developers are coming from. So again, not that surprising. I think if you were to rate what kind of ecosystems they're tapping into, I would say right now they probably haven't gone very far from the core set of people that are already aware of Arbitrum and already pretty familiar with Solidity and the existing smart contract tooling that exists. They haven't really been able to bring in net new developers from other ecosystems. So yeah, that was the Stylus dashboard. Any feedback, questions?
I think I asked you this before, but just sanity checking how the alignment works. Is this like some kind of clustering based on crypto ecosystems?
No, it's
overlap.
It's a heuristic. So basically, it will take the list of all the repos, see which ecosystems those appear in, and then there's a ranking. So if it appears in a Solana one, that'll get flagged. If it appears in Off-Chain Labs, that will get flagged. It's just like an ordering system. So pretty basic, but yeah, doing some kind of k-means clustering would be a fun extension to this.
Got it. Okay, cool. So I guess I'm trying to get a better sense when it says something like, non-EVM, like how confident are we that this is actually non-EVM versus like, oh, the heuristic could be, over-indexing on something.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty weak heuristic, I would say, right now. And it all depends on assumptions around the crypto ecosystems labeling being good. If tomorrow someone submitted Solidity and said that that was part of the Solana ecosystem, then all of a sudden it would look like those developers were Solana aligned, which is...
As you were speaking to, I had like a really fun idea. This is more for you, Javi. Javi, you remember this like debundler thing you were working on with JavaScript and how we talked about wanting to do it for the EVM, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the challenge with the debundler is that you're trying to compare ASTs, and when you compare ASTs, you are trying to basically reverse engineer what the dependencies are. There's actually an easier use case for your debundler, which is let's call it the innovation index, right? Like if you can take all the contract bytecode, let's say you start indexing Arbitrum, you pull out all the contract bytecode, and you start pulling out AST signatures for the different contract bytecode, you can get a rough similarity index. And that rough similarity index, especially when you compare it based on time periods, you can see like, are people just taking the same, Uniswap contracts and reskinning it and redeploying the same exact thing, or are they actually developing new applications, right? And the innovation index can be like time-based. So you can say, okay, it wasn't that innovative maybe in 2023, but 2024, now that the Stylus program is around, there actually is like a lot of unique AST signatures, and it kind of shows that the innovation index is high. I am really curious, super curious, how high is this quote unquote innovation index for base? right? Is Base actually seeing a lot of developers doing new things, or is it just people reskinning the same old shit and redeploying it? And that that stimulates activity. I don't know. I feel like that would be really a lot easier to measure than the dependency thing we were trying to get to, but could be like immensely valuable. Like we could start doing this, you know, in short order.
Yeah, that's one point that you raised. That is something which, like, the problem space is way smaller. Because like for people who are like not super familiar with the work, I haven't given a lot of updates. But right now the approach that I'm using is I'm basically grabbing packages from npm, downloading all versions, and then computing all hash for all functions. And then you just check against like a sort of like a file database to see if, like, you know, the package that you're interested in like checking is actually part of the bundle. It works well, but there's like so many packages, so many bundles, so many things that it's like, you know, non-trivial to scale this. So I think that if we could like pivot my tool, which already has, you know, like all the parsing capabilities, all the dependencies and everything, in order to actually get the source code from like OpenZeppelin and similar, then get the bytecode for it, and, you know, start crawling all the contracts and get like all the code, and then, you know, sort of like as you were saying, in a time fashion, measure, you know, if it's like, you know, more non-signatures, if people are innovating. I think that's like a smaller program space, and it's like immensely valuable. And I think that it would give like results way earlier, you know, than the JavaScript one, which I'm completely entangled with right now.
Yeah. I'm thinking something even smaller scope than that, which is like, I don't think you need the source code. I think it's just about destructuring the AST in the bytecode itself, and then computing a signature on that, and then just generating a heuristic score, unbounded, right? It's not a score between 1 and 100. It's just like, just compute some rough notion of similarity, which the inverse of which you would use to give you some rough score of how much change is happening at any given time. That seems like a much more tractable problem than what we were trying to do before.
Yeah, this is something that we should definitely sync, you know, because I know that we had this thingy with like the OpenZeppelin guys, and maybe they are interested still, you know. So yeah, I think it's something we should definitely not let the idea die.
I think so. Plus, now that we have like the work that Ikaro is doing around, you know, indexing cryo data sets and whatnot, like this would just be another stage in that pipeline, right? That we could probably start. It doesn't have to be complete. Like, I think that's what I'm trying to get at is you don't have to have all data for all time, because it's just a rough estimation of innovation. Even if you just randomly sample contracts that are deployed and interacted with over time, that's enough to give us something that would be useful for like a dashboard like this.
Yeah, absolutely. We should definitely sync.
I lied. I actually have one more very quick example. I think I can do this in a way which it's not revealing anything sensitive. But I was just kind of curious to play around a bit more with the spreadsheet connectors that we have. I'm showing the code view first. I'll switch over to what this does. And using that as a way of kind of tracking a CRM/sales tracker, and kind of bringing in some of the things that you might want to use to monitor different potential clients or customers. And I think the main thing here is this query over here, which basically takes the CRM data from a G sheet, and then it brings in data from DeFi Llama, it brings in data from Electric Capital, the crypto ecosystems, it brings in our own data from OSS directory and funding. There is a little bit of cleanup that's required because of some inconsistent naming, but it's pretty minimal. It also brings in like logos and other things. And then it visualizes it in a carousel, which I think is actually kind of cool. So there's ways of doing slides in Marimo. I haven't actually done that much of it. But if you just want to see like the carousel view, I need to figure out how to size the carousel. But you can basically get something which looks, a bit like a card in the CRM. So you can see, for instance, like optimism. This is pulling all of the grants that we have in OSS funding. This is all of those grants that are kind of marked as being going to OSO. And then you can actually see from our grant tracker the date of when each of those grants was distributed. Right now, this looks awful because things are overlapping, but you can see, you could pull metadata about what that grant consisted of, what it was for, the amount in tokens, the amount in USD, et cetera. And then you could also flip over and you could see something like from crypto ecosystems, the total number of developers or any other metric about that ecosystem over time. So again, I think this is like a fun example of the types of things that you can do here and really highlight the power of being able to combine public and private data sets. I imagine this kind of CRM thing would be a good test case that we could show on our featured page. Sanitized, of course, but as a use case.
Cool. Yeah, other random crazy idea, Ruben. Because it takes so long to load Marimo right now, especially on the first time, you have to get all the wheel files. You have to load a bunch of stuff. I know you talked about this before, but I feel like this is actually like a 30-second ad. Why not just have an invisible display none iframe in the org dashboard with an empty notebook, right? That just pre-warms the cache for PyDide and wheel files and whatnot.
Yeah, I was also thinking about that. Yeah, I mean, that it might work. Hopefully, it works. Yeah.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't it work? These are all
I guess
files, right?
no, it should definitely work with like the caching part. So I wonder. Yeah, I'm curious how long the PyDide load is actually on its own. So yeah, I guess it would be very helpful.
It wouldn't solve the problem that I described earlier of okay, this is a brand new person who's not logged in, who's never seen this before, who's not they're just going to a link. I think we still want published to HTML for stuff like that, but for specifically in the post login view, this could help speed up some of the especially if we're making changes frequently to the Marimo build. This would keep that stuff pre-warm, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right, this was fun. Any other questions or thoughts or feedback?
Let's make the default view on the notebook bigger, the width.
Oh yeah. We should definitely do that. Yeah, I didn't know that I could change that actually at first, so now I do. So
nice. I think I think running through all the previous features, I think it's funny because like you were saying, this could have been one of our shortest demo days ever, but actually reflects a ton of work, one of the most action-packed sprints ever. I think we should aim for that, right? We do I mean, sometimes the best features are things that are really take a lot of work, but the reason why it doesn't take so long to show is because it just makes your life magically seamless, which we should definitely aim for that.
Yep.
Sweet. Well, if there's nothing else, thanks everyone for showing off. I think this is a new chapter for us. I think it's pretty excited about where this is all going to go from here.
Woo.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Hey, later, guys.
Ciao.